Hi there everyone, my name is Jenna Calhoun, and today I'm going to talk to you about the concept of persuasion being used for good and bad purposes out of Module 2. So persuasion is just about anything that involves shaping or molding of attitudes, and it can be negative or positive, and it's the study of attitudes and how to change them. So persuasion is something that we can see in our everyday lives in different situations. I'm a waitress at Red Robin, and a way that I've seen good persuasion is when I'm communicating with a customer and they're conflicted about what they want to eat, I can persuade them into ordering a specific meal. For example, if they say that they're thinking about a cheeseburger, I can offer them something a little bit more unique and different, like the Royal Red Robin that has an egg on top, but is very similar in ingredients to the cheeseburger. I can then further the persuasion by telling them that it's one of our best sellers, that customers love it, and that people generally are pleased with the addition of the egg on it. Then I can go further and persuade them by telling them about how long I've worked there, establish credibility, and that trust with them, and so then they're more apt to listen to me about my recommendation and persuade them into ordering the Royal Red Robin. So that's an example of persuasion for a good purpose. An example of persuasion being used for a bad purpose would be at UTSA, and this happened to me last semester. There's a lot of classes that have attendance for a grade, and this leads students to ask other students to sign them in for attendance. Well, I was asked, and I immediately felt uncomfortable because I knew it was dishonest. And in all reality, I didn't want to get in trouble and risk my own academic career. So the girl continued to tell me all these things about why she couldn't be there, how she needed the points, and that she would owe me big time and that we wouldn't get caught, that it would only be this one time. Then she went as far as offering me a Starbucks coffee because she really wanted me to do this for her. And I feel like this is an example of bad or persuasion for a bad purpose, because even though I didn't give in to that persuasion, it was very evident that she was trying to persuade me into doing something that I wasn't comfortable with, even after I said no, and she went to great lengths trying to persuade me into doing something that I wasn't comfortable with. So now that I've discussed experiences of good and bad persuasion, I want to make a couple inferences about it. So I think persuasion can be used for great things and positive things. And, like pushing someone out of their comfort zone, doing things that they wouldn't have ever done if they weren't persuaded. Or telling kids to eat their vegetables and persuading them to do that because it's a healthy lifestyle. However, I do think that persuasion can be a very scary and dangerous thing because there's just a lot of negative and scary situations that involve persuasion. For example, friends can persuade friends into bullying other people or cheating on an exam or getting into legal trouble. There's just so many possibilities with bad persuasion, and I think we need to be aware of that. I do think that persuasion is a very useful and great tool in communication because we can completely change someone's opinion or belief, mindset, just by communicating in a specific way, and I think that's so cool. I have learned that persuasion is in our everyday lives, whether we notice it or not, and I learned that persuasion can be used for good purposes because that's something that I wasn't really aware of or didn't really think about too much. So now that I've made inferences, I want to discuss how these can be transferred to other situations. So I think that if we're more aware of persuasion, we can better handle situations when they arise that persuasion is present. And I think that we can, become better persuasive communicators by being more aware of how persuasion works and that it can be good and bad. And, we're constantly persuading people to either to do something, not do something, believe something, and it takes place every single day, and I think that that can be generalized in every aspect of our life. So, in conclusion, now that we have a better knowledge base of persuasion and how it can be used for both good and bad purposes, we can use this to be more aware, we can think more critically about it, we can be more responsible with persuasion as well, and we can better understand how to use it and learn it and become more effective persuasive communicators. Also, with this information, we might think twice before we take part in persuasion with bad purposes, and be more conscious thinking of that. Finally, I think with this information, we can just all around be more conscious of how it impacts people and how to better use persuasion in general. As Jenny Mullen says, I think the power of persuasion would be the greatest superpower of all time. Thank you guys, and I hope you learned something about persuasion being good and bad. See ya!